Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I am here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, long time no speak, guys. You would have seen we just done a live stream. Callum Chambers has just joined Aston Villa, and we mentioned in that live stream. Look, we've got a Jacob Ramsey video that we were meant to record tonight. This is the video. So before we get into all that, Dan, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. That was great fun.
It
Loved
was a
going
lot of
live.
fun.
Forgot how brilliant it is. I think it would be great. Even if it was just a sort of a general Q&A, I love coming on and seeing what guys have got to say in the comments, and we can have a little bit of a chat about things. So even if it's just for a bit of aimless chit chat, it was great fun, mate. It's great fun. So hopefully something we can do a bit more of going forward. But yeah, aside from that, very good. After hearing, I was listening. You were talking about the book of Boba Fett at the start of the live. So I was sporting my. I've got
Look
some
at that.
Star Wars. Go for Christmas. Star Wars and
I love
Adidas
that.
did a collab, which I didn't know about. It's
That's
got
beautiful.
Grogu here. It's got
Shout
him
out.
bigger on the back too.
Give us a spin. Come on. Let's see. Let's
Yeah,
see.
do you want to see?
Yeah.
If I
Come
give you
on.
can you see that?
Oh yes, I can see that. Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I rate that. I got a
pretty
lot of
good,
time.
right? So yeah, thought I'd done this for you, mate.
You too. I see an outfit change. That is the dedication. That is the.
Well, the thing
I
is,
just
I actually
wow.
had it on under my hoodie.
Oh,
So
there
I'm
we
wearing
go.
a hoodie in the live. This I was wearing underneath. I didn't think stripping off on the live. That probably violates some kind of YouTube community guideline, doesn't it? If I start stripping on live, people start
Probably.
tipping me, mate.
That's what we
So
want,
I
guys.
kept it.
Keep them coming in.
I kept it. I kept it on, but thought I'd done it for you on the episode, mate.
I love that. That's brilliant. I love the book. I mean, this week's book
But
of Boba Fett episode,
anyway,
fantastic.
Jacob
We
Ramsey.
digress. Jacob Ramsey.
Jacob
Yeah.
Ramsey.
Before we get into Jacob Ramsey, though, we've got a message from today's video sponsors. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for
We
you
sure
guys.
do, mate.
It's OneFootball. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that OneFootball using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. So guys, if you haven't checked out OneFootball, make sure you do so. Top link in the description. It would really help Dan and I out, and it would also help you guys out in consuming some top quality football content. Less of that, more of one Jacob Ramsey. Dan, obviously we're in this winter break, which, let's be honest, is fairly pointless, especially when we've got 2 or 3 players away on international duty. It's a nice one for the players, and it's given us some time to reflect on a player who we've wanted to talk about by himself for quite a while right now, and that's Jacob Ramsey. You guys would have seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title. Why Jacob Ramsey is so important to Aston Villa, something along them lines. The title is still TBD. Basically, I just wanted to sit here, Dan, and talk to you about how bloody phenomenal Jacob Ramsey is, and everyone should know it. And everyone is starting to take notice. Now, of course, Villa fans are acutely aware of how good this lad really is. But we're starting to see from opposition fans, you're seeing Arsenal fans, you're seeing Everton fans, you're seeing Manchester United fans, all tweeting about Jacob Ramsey. And in the summer, there was the sort of around September time, there was the sort of the link that nobody wants to hear in Pep Guardiola being extremely fond of JJ, which is something that people have commented a few times about. His name is obviously Jacob Ramsey. Why is he called JJ? People have been asking that. It's just something that has stuck. He's got 2 younger brothers as well. I forget the name of the youngest one. Maybe you can correct me, Dan. But Aaron is the
I think
middle.
it's Cole.
Cole, yeah. And from what I've read, the nicknames are JJ, AJ, and CJ. So that's where that has come from. I mean, if JJ himself would care to comment or even come on the podcast, we'd be more than welcome to host you, mate. But yeah, that's the origins of that. People just call him that, and Villa do as well. So we We call him JJ. I feel like he's quite endearing. It's nice to have a nice nickname for him. But we didn't come to talk about nicknames. I'm doing it again. I'm getting distracted, Dan. Jacob Ramsey, phenomenal player. And, you know, we mentioned this on the live stream just, Dan, how important last season was for Jacob Ramsey. It was a coming of age season for him. I think, you know, many people we're seeing all, you know, not only just on social media, but the likes of James Alcott, who is like, for me, the GOAT when it comes to football content on YouTube, saying how 2022 is going to be the year of Jacob Ramsey, where he really sort of leaves his mark on the Premier League. So getting that kind of praise from someone like James, who knows his ball, is of course fantastic. But you know, he put the hard yards in last season in these sort of short cameos that we were seeing him make. The odd game where he'd start, you know, if we recall Manchester City away, a lot of us were going, what on earth are we doing? And the lad nearly scored, to be fair to him as well. And there were times where we were extremely frustrated because whilst we have championed JJ since day one, let's get that straight, we love JJ on this podcast, sometimes it just didn't make much sense. But now we're really reaping the benefits of this, Dan, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%. He's someone that, you know, again, not to reference the live, I don't want to give people FOMO in case they didn't see it. But, you know, it's someone that I sort of questioned his involvement a little bit last season because I felt like the final product wasn't there. The overall play, I think, you know, his intelligence and how he moves with the ball and how good he is at progressing it, I would say it's all there. I think that the big difference this season is that he's added the killer instinct, hasn't he, really, around the box to go and get that shot, to go and get the goal, to get the assist. And I'm really quite fond of that. I love that he's quite critical of himself as well. You know, he said that himself in his beautiful Great Bar accident that his stats probably weren't that great, which is a brilliantly insightful analysis, but I think speaks a lot to the high standards that he holds of himself. And, you know, despite that humble critique, he manages 0.23 goals per 90 and an XG of 0.14 per 90, which is actually in the top 18% of Premier League midfielders for goal scoring, which is not too bad considering this is his breakout season, really. He featured a little, you know, he's gone from being, I would define his role as a sort of useful squad player under Dean, someone that we turned to when we had to, but never really felt like he was concrete part of the 11, but someone that came in and did a job and did it well and everything like that, to being under Steven Gerrard, a crucial part of the team, someone that it is impossible to drop. And now this team feels like the midfield is perfectly balanced, doesn't it, with him in there? You sort of got him in that 8-10 role, McGinn playing slightly deeper in that sort of shuttle, and then Douglas or Marv, depending, holding down that 6. And that's a very well-balanced midfield. And I think it's testament to how well JJ settled in as an 8. And I think that's probably the most surprising thing, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think we can't really underestimate the importance of a ball carrier, especially since, you know, we lost the one ball carrier that we had in the summer. You know, I hate to talk about him, but, you know, Grealish was averaging around 15 progressive carries per 90 minutes for Aston Villa. Now, Jacob Ramsey is nowhere near that. He's at around the 6
That's
mark.
incredible. Those are insane numbers, though, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. But that number 6, it currently, in terms of total carries, it has him ranked 6th in the whole entire squad. But he's carried the ball in terms of yards, the second furthest out of the whole squad with so far at the time of recording. He's carried it 3,133 yards himself. He's dribbled past 16 players, which is the 4th most in the squad. And in terms of, you know, these progressive carries being towards the goal as well, he's carried it 1,667 yards, like directly towards goal, which again, he's right at the top for Villa there. So he's really important to how Villa are looking to attack teams and break teams down. And this is what I find really interesting about JJ, because as you referred to, Dan, in the academy, when we were seeing him, when he first sort of burst onto the scene, we were seeing him in this sort of number 10 role, and he really appeared to be that kind of player. Now, number 10 doesn't really exist in modern football. I think, you know, the closest thing that we had to that is probably, you know, if we're looking right now at the squad, Felipe Coutinho, he is a 10. But, you know, if you look at James from last season, he's the last, you know, sort of throwback 10 I think we've seen in the Premier League for quite a long time. And Jacob isn't really that. I think it sounds really stupid, but a number 10 is essentially an 8 that just sits further up the pitch in the modern game. You know what I mean? Like, if you're playing as a number 10 in a 4-2-3-1, you're not necessarily going to be picking up the ball in your own box. However, I would expect a number 10 in the modern day to be at the very least on the halfway line, on the half turn, looking to drive your team forward. And JJ, being as athletic and dynamic as he is, has molded perfectly into this sort of number 8, again, Mezzala role that I think really suits him, because he's fearless. He loves dribbling. Again, he's carried the ball the second furthest in the whole Villa squad. And at such a young age as well, Dan, at only 20 years old, to be doing that and to have the confidence to do that, that's really special for me.
Yeah, man. I think, I think Pep fashioned the 8-10, didn't he? Because the way that he plays that 4-3-3, with the holding midfielder and the 2 8s, and how you see sort of De Bruyne go and play, as you said, mate, in not a true 10, he does all but comes from those deeper positions. I think it's sort of Pep that fashioned that, really. He did it with Iniesta too.
Yeah.
Iniesta never really played as the archetypal 10, but it came from those deeper positions and sort of dictated the game, sort of in the middle to like final third. And so JJ has some. If he's going to play the role as well as those two players, I think we're going to be okay. But now, mate, I love that he's got that confidence, and I think that's the most attractive thing. He's currently competing 29 passes per 90, which is ranks quite highly in terms of Premier League midfielders, in the 21st percentile of all of those in the Prem. And there's around 3 touches in the box per 90 as well, which is really great, because it shows that he's getting up there into the business end, which, as I said, where he was lacking. And I think just that enthusiasm to drive at players and take players on, it was so joyful, wasn't it, seeing him sidestep was it Varane to sort of take that shot, and the ball that he plays across to Coutinho in that Man United game. When you saw it live, it looked on for all the world. It's like, you've got a square there. But when you watch it in the replays, the degree of difficulty on that pass, because he
100%.
has to try and get around it with his left boot, get it across the 2 defenders, not further enough away from the defenders that they don't get to it, but further enough away from David De Gea so that he can't come and claim it, to get it through that very marginal corridor onto the onrushing Felipe Coutinho to leave him with a tap in. The more that you watch it, there's such a high difficulty of on that pass, and I think that these kind of moments come from confidence. I think it's the most underrated trait in football. I really do. When a player has that kind of mojo, and you've just scored at the Holte end, this is forgetting all of these stats. I refuse to count that goal or discount that goal against Leicester, because it's a goal.
4 goals this season.
Yeah. I will count it. And you can start to see him when he's driving at players like he did at Norwich. The goal against Arsenal is such a shame because of the score that will forever be forgotten. Basically, it is lost in the Villa archives, because that is a game that we will always want to forget. But it's a brilliant, brilliant goal. It's the diversity of the finishes, the different ways that he's capable of scoring a goal, really lends me to think that, is why I am a bit hesitant to get fully on board with Bentancur, because if Bentancur comes in and it means stunting Jacob Ramsey in the first team, then I say no every day of the week. This kid is a project that we need to invest in. And I love that we're starting to bear the fruits of what Dean Smith began. Give him his nod. Dean began this project, and Dean Smith walked so Steven Gerrard could run in terms of Jacob Ramsey, I think, because Stevie's come in, picked him up, and has clearly leveled up his game in no time at all. And I think if we can, as you said, that there is that interest, and that unfortunately comes when you start to play these academy players and they play well. It'd be amazing to see where JJ can be in a few seasons' time. Hopefully he's doing it in claret and blue, mate.
Of course, and I think what's more remarkable, Dan, is that debut against West Brom in that game that we lost in a horrible fashion. It was the worst. I think Nyland got concussed. Kalinic came on. No, Kalinic got concussed, didn't he? Then he gets chipped. He gets beaten at his near post. It was a horrible game. It felt like a really significant moment in the season as well, because it kind of almost looked like we were sort of dead and buried at the time, if I'm remembering correctly. And Jacob Ramsey was handed his debut in the Championship, and we're seeing him score against the likes of Manchester United, Arsenal, taking the game to a team that has Rafael Varane. You know, and the Man U Matic, we've bantered Matic, but he's a very good midfielder, and Jacob Ramsey made him look quite average. And I think that's what's really exciting for me. You referenced there that 3.76 progressive passes received. He's averaging about 2.5 touches in the attacking penalty area, both respectively put him within about the top 10 percentile of midfielders doing so. That's what you want. You want that midfielder. I've been saying it for so long on the podcast. Dan, go back. You go back to any of the podcasts over the past 3 years. Not only will you hear me talk about Dynamo Zagreb, but all I've been crying out for is midfield runners, and that is JJ's whole gambit. And I'm so glad you referred to Pep Guardiola, mate, because that is you look at that Manchester City midfield. They have an anchor, and then they have these two Metzalas that are just everywhere. They are everywhere. There's no 8, there's no 10. There isn't a blade of grass that Bernardo Silva, that Kevin De Bruyne, that Gundogan, that whoever plays in them other two spots other than Rodri or Fernandinho doesn't cover. And that's what's really important. I can see Felipe Coutinho potentially being deployed in a similar position, if I'm being completely honest. I think you can play with a McGinn and a Coutinho, or a McGinn and a Ramsey, specifically in this case, as these two sort of driving forces, because we've seen so many times Ramsey collect the ball in our own box, be that guy to really turn and get Villa out of trouble, and has proven this season that he can be the guy to not only start and instigate moves, but to finish them as well. And that's the cutting edge that I think we've been crying to see from Jacob Ramsey for so long. And we knew it's there. It was about tapping into it. And as we've said before, mate, Steven Gerrard is ultimately the guy who's going to get the most out of Jacob Ramsey.
For sure. And he's also a guy that said that JJ is better than he was at 20 years old. There was sort of a quote that came out of Stevie sort of saying that, yeah, I think JJ's further along than I was at that age. And that's an incredible thing to hear someone like Steven Gerrard play, considering I'm not sure if it's actually true, by the way. Steven Gerrard was playing for England at 19. But
it's the game. It's the game.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's one of those where I think we're starting to see a player come into a position which still surprises me, because he doesn't have the frame. He's a 19, 20-year-old kid with this really slight frame, well under 6 foot, sort of 5'8", would you say? 5'8", something like that. And the way that he runs those games, and the way that he goes into challenges, he's winning about 70% of his duels over the last 4 or 5 games, which is really nice considering 9 games out of 10 he's playing against guys that are like, almost like 1.5 times his age and 1.5 times his height, and he's going in with these guys, and he's very battle hardened. He's very wise. I think his intelligence is what I will credit JJ for more than anything. I think that's his best trait. I think his decision making is exceptional for a player his age. He very rarely gets it wrong. He knows when to dribble. He knows when to pass. He knows when to turn. He doesn't. You don't recall him getting booked. He's never picked up a red. He doesn't dive into silly challenges. The way that he reads the game and the way that he's able to act in situations which very often get the better of 19, 20-year-olds is really quite impressive. And I think that's what surprises me most, is that he's playing at a level in terms of his intelligence which is far beyond the amount of minutes that he's played. He's playing like a seasoned pro, and this is his. I'm hesitant to say second season in the Premier League, because it's like 1.5 at most. And I think that's what's most impressive, is that you're seeing a kid at the end of the day. This is a kid who burst onto the scene really last year, someone that was a bit of an asset to the squad, play in those midfield positions, as well as a John McGinn, as well as a Douglas Luiz, as well as a Morgan Sanson, and very rarely gets it wrong. He's acting on a level which he can read the game as well as those guys. And I think that's for me what I think stands out the most. I think there's still a little bit more to add in terms of goals and assists. I think that he's shown that he can do it. We've just got to see it more, because he's so capable of doing it. He can take it to anyone. But yeah, the way that he reads the game, he's got a brilliant football brain, mate. And I think you do have to tip your hat to Stevie there, because I think that's something that's come on in leaps and bounds since he's come in.
100%. It's that confidence, it's the tenacity you see, the intensity as well. I think he really does care about, about playing, about improving every day. I think we see that in the way he performs. He is getting better with every game, which again, it's just so encouraging. And ultimately, that's why JJ is going right to the top, and hopefully that is with Aston Villa. But I think that's probably a good place to wrap up this podcast. Not only because I feel like we may have exhausted the conversation, Dan, but my laptop is also about to die. And I don't have enough ports to have the mic and the camera and everything on. So guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, this chat about Jacob Ramsey, let us know by hitting a like and commenting your thoughts below on the season JJ's having. I mean, it's been mad, hasn't it, Dan? Let's be honest. He's
incredible.
He's been doing a madness this season. So yeah, make sure you hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Up the Villa.